everyone, it's Stephanie and Lucy, and we're here to do my recent reads, books 21 to 30. So book 21 is Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden. This is book 1 in the Escaping Exodus duology. This was such a cool sci-fi. I listened to the audiobook, which I highly recommend. It was really good. It's set in this biological city-sized starship inside a beast in space. It's just such a cool world. I loved following the main characters. It's got queer relationships in it. It was so good. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I'm definitely going to read the sequel soon. Next, I read Emily of Deep Valley by Maud Hart Lovelace. This is the author of the Betsy Tacy books, and this is a standalone, and we follow Emily in Deep Valley, Michigan. And she has just graduated high school, and she kind of goes through a little bit of a depressing, lonely time because all of her friends are going off to college and moving forward with their life, and she kind of feels stuck because she stayed in Deep Valley to take care of her grandfather. She throws herself into this new program of study and meets this dashing new teacher and makes new friendships, and so she kind of blooms where she's planted, so to speak. I just thought it was a really lovely novel, and I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to, and kind of feeling like you're in a transition period and not really knowing where you're going to go, but that it'll be all right in the end. I absolutely adored it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Number 23, I finally finished the Broken Earth trilogy. I read The Stone Sky. Such a phenomenal conclusion to a phenomenal series. I loved it so much. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Can't wait to reread it. N.K. Jemisin is such a fantastic author, and I am so excited to read more of her work. Number 24 was a reread for me. This was Iron Widow by Ziran J. Zhao, but this was for the Space Sirens. It's such a cool sci-fi. It's set in this world where there's concubine pilots, and the main character's sister has been killed, and so she takes it on herself to get revenge by assassinating the male pilot that was with her sister when she was killed. And I just thought this was such a fun sci-fi. That was a horrible synopsis, but it's honestly just one of those books that I think was just so fun to go into, not really knowing that much and just going along for the ride, and the plot twists and everything. Such a cool world. I'm excited for the next one to see where it goes. So I gave that one 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. This is book number 2 in the Wayfarer series. So even though this is a series, and it follows a character from The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, it's not really following the events of that book. Lovelace, from the first book, was once the artificial intelligence in the Wayfarer, and then she wakes up in a new body and has, after a total system shutdown and reboot. And so she has no memory of what happened before, and she has to learn how to negotiate this universe and find out who she is. And she makes friends with Pepper, who is an engineer, and Pepper is determined to be there for her to learn and grow. And they just develop this fantastic friendship. I didn't love this one as much as The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, but it was definitely classic Becky Chambers. Wonderful characters and character development. The world was just fantastic. I love that there's a lot of scientific elements. It is a sci-fi, but she puts it in there so effortlessly, and I don't ever feel like the scientific concepts are over my head or that I'm not smart enough to understand them. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm excited to continue with the series. Next, I read Green Rider by Kristen Britton. I read this for part of a read-along that is still going on, hosted by Fina from Fina Reads, and this follows the story of Kerrigan, and she is running away from school and traveling through a forest, and this rider on this horse appears, and with his dying breath, he tells her he's a Green Rider, and that he makes her swear to deliver the message that he's carrying, and gives her his green coat with the brooch of the Green Riders. So she's pursued by assassins, but she is determined to follow her oath and deliver this message. And I just thought this was a really cool fantasy novel. The magic was really cool. It was just so much fun. It was such a fun adventure. So I'm excited to pick up the next one, because I'm excited to get more answers and to be back in the world. And I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. This is book 2 in the Winternight trilogy. We follow Vasya, who's now a young woman, and she has to choose between marriage or life in a convent, and she instead flees from home. I don't want to say too much more since it's the second book in a series. I will say this one wasn't as much folklore as the first book was. It's more plot and action and adventure. However, the Russian inspiration and all of the magic and stuff that I loved from the first book was still in this one. I still think the first book is my favorite, but I loved this one. I blew through it. And it's such a wonderful series, and I'm really excited to finish it out with The Winter of the Witch and see how it turns out. So I give this one 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Live, Local, and Dead by Nikki Knight. This is the first book in the Vermont Radio Mystery series. It's a cozy mystery. I was really disappointed in this one. Caveat. Cozy mysteries. They're called cozy because there's no graphic sex, violence, not really politics or anything like that. They're basically just kind of light and don't really deal with like real world stuff, if that makes sense, or that does so on a very light scale. I enjoy reading about all those things, just not in my cozy mystery. I go to cozy mysteries when I want something lighter, even though it has a murder in it, but they're just full of quirky characters and great towns, and they're kind of brain candy for me. And they're a way to get away from the horrible things in the world. So this one, I thought sounded really cool because it's a Vermont radio mystery, which I don't know any other cozy with a radio station, but it gets really political really fast. I appreciate the stance that the author takes because the characters do condemn these actions that are not okay by any means, but it didn't feel like a cozy. And most of this book focused on the main character's relationship with her new boyfriend, and she just kind of followed the police with the investigation. She didn't really do any investigating herself. The one positive is that the audiobook narrator was fantastic. She did a great job with the content she was given, but I won't be continuing on with the series, so I gave that one 2 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Goliath by Tochi Onyebuchi. And this was so good. It was very, very dense, but very good. It's a sci-fi dystopian type book. It's set in the 2050s, and Earth has started to empty because it's not really livable anymore. And those with privilege and the wealth have departed to space colonies, and those who basically, the have-nots, are stuck on Earth. Things are just chaotic and horrible things are happening. But I thought this was such a cool book. And there's a lot of like biblical references, but they're done in a really cool way. And the timeline isn't super linear, but it was fun to kind of puzzle out what was going on. We follow different characters. This was just such a good book. It's very rich and it explores like race and class and gentrification in such a unique, interesting way. I do think this is a book that I need to reread in order to fully get what I need to get out of it. But I was attached to the characters and I just thought it was very well written. And once I kind of got into the writing style, I was just hooked. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. And I will definitely be rereading it again, and I will definitely be reading more books by this author. And finally, number 30 is Engaged in Death by Stephanie Blackmore. This is book 1 in the Wedding Planner mystery series. It's set in Port Quincy, Pennsylvania. Mallory Shepard has dumped her cheating fiancé and canceled their wedding. She unexpectedly inherits Thistle Park, which is a ramshackle mansion. It's definitely a work in progress. So an unwanted visitor is found dead on the lawn. And Mallory wants to find the killer before she becomes the next victim. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot of fun. I loved the wedding planner theme. And I love that the main character took a bad situation of leaving her relationship and turning it into something positive and moving forward. I really liked the characters and I thought it was very well written. So I am definitely continuing on with the series. So those were my recent reads, 21 to 30. Have you read any of these books? If so, let me know. If you've made it this far and you want to leave an emoji, drop a heart emoji for wedding planners. As always, if you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.